If you think I'm gonna apologize for using that meme twice in 2 videos, I am. I'm sorry. This was a better use though, so I figured I'd bless you with it once again. So checking out YouTube the other day, and normally around this time when a new Total War game drops, people are looking to break it wide open. They're looking for the most ridiculous exploits, the stankiest cheese, the most overpowered troops, because that's what gets the views in these trying times. And I saw that Legend had uploaded a video called Troy Chariot Spam is Broken. It's a fun one. Go check it out if you haven't already. Pretty entertaining. But the cliff notes are, he brings a full stack of chariots and murders 2.5 or 3 full armies by clicking and dragging through, mulching everything in their path. It's an unstoppable avalanche, a rumbling tide of momentum that brings doom to all who dare oppose it. Not very micro-intensive at all, but then again, doom stacks rarely are. That's kind of the point. Anyone can do it. You get an economic advantage over the AI, and then you just roll over them, literally. But it wasn't the tactic itself that surprised me. It was his excitement and glee at finding this new cheese, like it was some shocking revelation that no one's ever seen or heard of before. But I gotta say it, this ain't new, playa. It's been around for a long time. Now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. He certainly earned it. He was probably just excited to have another Doomstack video. And he's not a newcomer to the series, so I'm sure he's well aware of what I'm about to talk about, but a lot of you might not be. In fact, I'd wager quite a few of Legends or my viewers are relatively new converts to the Total War series, joining the party sometime after the announcement for Warhammer 1. But there are also quite a few veterans hanging out on this channel as well. People who've been playing since Shogun 1, Rome 1, Medieval 2, players who've been doing their thing for a decade or more at this point. And for those of you who have been playing the series for a long time, Chariots being broken should come as absolutely no surprise whatsoever. They've been the definition of right-click, touch dick while you AFK and win battles for almost 20 years now. And Exhibit A is coming up right now on Total War Rome 2. But I don't want to play as Pontus. Well, you might, after you see what side chariots can do on the battlefields of Rome 2. These are the cheesiest units in the game, bar none. They have a storied history of shredding cheddar, Gruyere, Manchego, and Gorgonzola through enemy battle lines, racking up eye-watering amounts of kills with but a few clicks of one stubby little Cheeto fingers. It's not uncommon for entire armies to be obliterated by the use of a single scythe chariot. Whether you're talking about Empire Divided, Augustus, or the Grand Campaign is irrelevant. These bad boys were the nukes of classical antiquity, despite seeing limited battlefield use in real history. Doomstacks aren't even required. The AI literally cannot deal with them in, I'd say, about 90% of circumstances, and that might be a little bit generous. So, in this clip, I'm playing as Gallic Rome from the Empire Divided campaign. Don't ask me why they have side chariots, I have no idea, but fighting against a full stack of Marcomanni Germans in a settlement battle. In the span of about 90 seconds or so, one unit of chariots gets over 1,000 kills, and I don't even use them well. Just keep your eye on the bottom left kill counter and you'll see that value skyrocket as I drag through. It's not an unrealistic scenario either. They've got medium and heavy spears, Oathsworn, and a ton of armor-piercing foxes fighting in a choke point where the chariot should have less room to maneuver and do what it wants to do. And they get butchered. Only thing that might be a little bit different is the AI likes to recruit a lot of slingers, and let's just say that contrary to reality, in Rome 2, loose formation doesn't exactly help. In fact, a lot of times it hurts. It means that the chariots pull through even easier. But we'll take an even more egregious example here. Balance bar is 0% in my favor as Pontus, facing off against 3 full stacks of Aravaci, Colchissian, and Boii troops. And they have even more tools for stopping the onslaught coming their way. Elite noble swords with javelins and high mass, heavily armored hoplites, heavy horse, and more than 6,500 troops, all arrayed to break my 180 chariots. I'm outfunded by about 18,000, which is equivalent to roughly an army and a half worth of troops. Now the key here is, with any chariot army, is to keep them moving at all times. They passively get kills as they drag through enemy formations. You don't have to click attack orders with them, so it's actually better to keep them a little bit spread out, maybe in 2 control groups, one after another, where the second line can run over the scattered survivors after the first wave. If you keep them too blobbed up, they can kind of get stuck on each other and spend more time getting hit by enemies in melee. But you don't want to spread too wide either. There is safety in numbers, and one big swarm does make it easier to micro, so something to think about. The end result here should be obvious. Even with the additional mass from elite horsemen and shield wall hoplites, Triumvirate is ground into paste beneath the dust of mine chariot wheels, and 6,000 enemy troops perish while I lose only 1/3 of my own army. This is being done in a game with elephants, with super heavy cataphracts, where Emperor Edition gave almost every unit in the game javelins or pila, which hard counter chariots, and where the AI uses shield wall effectively and actively goes out of their way to face your charges and brace appropriately. It's one of the few things battle AI actually does well in Rome 2. So you can imagine, if the AI doesn't bring the perfect units to counter scythe chariots, and they won't, it only takes 1 or 2 units to completely demolish full stacks with very little investment on your part whatsoever. Doesn't require a full army at all. By the way, this stuff is nothing compared to what you used to be able to do with them when Rome 2 first came out. Current scythe chariots are what the unit looks like after maybe 3 full rounds of nerfs. I remember back in launch days, I could get like 2,800 kills with 1 chariot unit if microed well. But if we rewind the clocks back even further to 2004, chariots in Rome Total War might be even more busted, because they don't just do reasonably well versus heavy cav, they absolutely eviscerate them. In our first example, going up against the Parthians and Germania with 6 Pontic chariots, the Arab cav is trash and makes sense they would die en route immediately, but what comes next will shock you. Armored Eastern Generals, Camel Cataphracts, and Elite Cataphracts, the most expensive, most powerful, and highest mass cavalry in the game, and they evaporate on impact. Instant rout for anyone left standing. These are elite troops that are breaking immediately on touch. They get touched and they die. Look at the mass rout that kicks in there. Lose like 3 chariot models in my entire army and kill hundreds of cataphracts in the span of 15 seconds. And you might say, oh, well, that's fine. It makes sense that a scythe chariot would hard counter horses. It would just chop their legs off. No big deal. But they do the same thing to elite infantry as well, as we shift over and just roll at the flank of the, shall we say, less than stellar battle AI for Rome 1. In fact, the only thing that stops my rampage in this battle are my own chariots. Pontic scythe chariots have rampage, and if you remember in earlier Total War games, rampage would friendly fire your own troops. So I take minimal losses up until the point where 1 unit begins rampaging, then it wrecks a couple of my own chariots, they wreck the rest, and soon they're all dead because they just do so much damage. The only thing they have to fear is themselves, which is kind of hilarious. Now in the second example, I'm just stupid outnumbered. 5 elite chariots that cost 5,000 denarii. I think about 975 per unit, against 20,000 denarii worth of Gallic and Dacian troops. Outfunded 4-1 here, and going up against legit armies too of elite noble cav. Chosen swordsmen and spearmen, armor-piercing foxes, the works. But same song, same dance here, except this time, my chariots don't rampage and kill each other, and the result is completely decisive and hilarious. Heroic victory, about 3,000 kills, lose 1/3 of my own force, 845 kills on one of my chariots alone. Minimal micro, minimal investment, minimal effort. Right click, then AFK and win, baby. And that's been the theme with chariots for a really long time. Better part of 20 years at this point. There's just something about the combination of collision, or lack thereof, sheer mass, and impact damage that turns them into Kawasaki Ninja Blender Lords that completely run over everything. Their ability to devastate entire armies by themselves in only a handful of seconds is rivaled maybe only by Lord Croak, Wind of Death, and a handful of vortex spells in Warhammer. Not even a rear charge from armored elephants or full stacks of Timurid cannon ellies can accomplish what chariots can and do frequently pull off. And while undeniably fun to watch and fun to execute, I think we can all pretty clearly see just a teeny bit overpowered. Just a smidge. Just a little itty bitty smidge. But if we take a look at Total War Warhammer, for example, I think this is where Creative Assembly have done the best job with this unit archetype, with chariots overall. They require more babysitting, they require more micromanagement, and they can't consistently reach those lofty heights or the kill potential we often saw in Rome 1 or Rome 2. But take Volkmar out for a spin on his Volkswagen against an unprepared opponent, especially in campaign, and you'll often see a similar result. Whether they be used en masse or simply in small squadrons of 3 or 4, chariots have been and will continue to be broken when even the tiniest bit of brain power is utilized alongside them. So it's not unique to Troy, it's nothing new, it's nothing particularly shocking, although if you've never played Rome 1 or Rome 2, maybe this will be shocking to you. It's just kind of the history of Total War. Hope you guys enjoyed this look at the history of chariots in the Total War franchise, and I will see you all in the next video. Andy Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.